So you want to know the strongest and weakest survivor personas in Identity V? Yes? Okay, then here is my persona tier list for Season 26. Oh, and before we start, keep in mind this tier list is rated for solo players, and not for squads with VC. Alright, that's all. Let's start right away with the first persona. Curiosity. A tier. This persona is more useful for new players, since high tiers and pros automatically know the location of all the ciphers. So this persona is basically useless in early game, but can give you a lot of informations in mid-game, especially when only 1 or 2 ciphers are left. It's also very useful on big maps. I put it in A, since on big maps you would pretty much waste without it a lot of time, trying to find the last cipher. You can also see with the aura of the cipher, if a teammate is working on it, and that also saves time. And like everyone knows, time is the key to victory in this game. Distraction. A solid A. This is a persona that can give you a lot of value, depending on the hunter you're facing. If you have no clue where, or what the hunter is doing, this will show you if he is chasing someone, or changing the target. You might think, wow, those 5 seconds are nothing, but this can literally save you from an elimination, at some point. Especially, from these beaches. Escape. Like distraction, it's also A. The movement speed buff itself does have a little impact, but the fact it also ends the same time like detention makes it already a lot better. With that you exactly know when detention is over, and when you can rescue, if you have to. Telepathy. It's not bad, but not really good, B. I think the idea was great, but the way the end game just works, makes it useless. In the end game everyone plays very safe, so all survivors except the chased one instantly run towards the gate of course. So outside of late game rescue scenarios, this persona comes rarely in hand. The persona idea is good, but the fact that the end game rarely lasts over a minute makes the persona pretty unnecessary. Snooze. It's not good, C tier. Snooze slows down the rocket chair countdown by 3, 6, or 9%. At the first moment it sounds great, but when you look at the stats, then the persona feels more like a waste of points. Let's do some math. 60 seconds need to pass that a normal survivor dies, and 10% of those 60 seconds are 6 seconds. So after all, you just get around 5 extra seconds on the chair for 15 persona points. It's not really good, except you plan to use it on characters with already slow rocket chair countdowns. Self-deception. It's a noob persona D tier. This persona is all about failing calibrations, but who on earth isn't able to hit the calibrations in this game? If you don't plan to run this persona with Compensate as a build, then you get basically 0 value out of it. Compensate. It's at the bottom of C. Same thing with the previous persona, outside of new players, nobody will ever miss a skill check. The only reason why I put it on C is because it's slightly better than self-deception. If you don't run it like before as a build with self-deception, then yeah, don't use it at all. Companion Effect. It's pretty good, A tier. It's not a lot, but it sure does help getting to a nearby pallet area after rescue. Besides that, there is not a lot to say about this persona. It's helpful on hunters with small hitboxes, but that's it. Borrowed time. Must have persona. Auto S tier. I don't think I have to explain why. Herd behavior. A tier. The persona itself is very strong, it informs you if the hunter changes target, and can also give you a little head start. The only reason why the persona is not S tier, is because after the persona activates, the hunter is immune by its revealing effect for 40 seconds. Survivor's Instinct. B tier. Survivor's Instinct is basically useless until survivors are getting eliminated, but this is a thing that we don't want. As survivor you need to get at least 3 escapes for a win, so this persona isn't really useful at all. You get no big benefit from it, because if one teammate is eliminated, the survivor team is already on the risk at losing, and after 2 dead survivors, it's already game over. The 5% decoding speed buff after the first elimination can be helpful, but after the second one this persona will become, even with the decoding buff, useless. This persona can be useful after the first elimination, but after the second one it won't change the outcome of the game. Please. It's at the bottom of B, could be actually C tier as well. Sticker. A tier, but pretty close to S. This persona lets you crawl twice as fast when downed, and also self-heal 20% faster. I personally use this persona on almost any persona web, since it's such often a game-changing persona. This persona can literally give you a free escape. Like if the hunter decides to slug you, the chances of getting up or escaping through the dungeon are a lot higher than without the persona. This persona can't be easily explained why it's so good, but just give it a try, and you will see how awesome it is. Mutual support. B tier. I have mixed feeling about this one. It might have scenarios where you can get actually a use out of it. But since you only rescue around 2 times per match, this persona isn't really needed. Usually you just let the healthy survivor go for the rescue, and the injured one decodes. But it might come in use for some cases. Healing. C. Like said, healing is something you only do if it's like really necessary. You just heal somebody if all are injured and you really need a rescuer. The game is in the current state so fast over, that healing becomes unnecessary most of the times. There are scenarios where healing is needed, but these scenarios are so rare. If the team plays coordinated, healing won't be necessary at all. It has its use on rescuers, but even then it's still very niche. Airwalk. C. Remember, Identity V is a fashion game where you show off your pretty ass skins. Okay, but seriously, what would you see first? These brown scratch marks, or this motherfucker who looks like a golden coin? This persona might be useful on Explorer, but outside of that, I don't think it's useful at all. Weber's Law. A. It's a new persona, so I don't have a lot thoughts about it, but based on the effect, this persona slightly counters jumpscare hunters like Wu Chang, that can literally start right away a chase with you at any time. I would also say this persona also helps getting to a nearby pallet area. But remember, the effect only activates once, so it's pretty much balanced in some sort. Symbiotic Effect. B tier. I'm sure most people would put it down in B, because activating it is so damn hard. You literally have to walk exactly towards the rocket chair to activate it. But if it's active, the boost it gives is really solid. If NetEase made the range a little wider, I'm sure this persona would be a lot better to use, but for now it stays around the top of B. Flywheel, aka Dead Hard. A tier. It was S, but it got nerfed a ton of times. The nerfs were kinda fair, but it's still good though. There are really scenarios where it can prolong your kite. It's also a must-use on decoders with a vault debuff. A high A tier persona. Risky move. S no doubt. It increases the rescue speed by 40%, fucking 40. This has such a huge impact on how your rescues will turn out. If your rescue fail, then it's usually already a tie or even a lose, so yes, this persona is game-changing all the way. Prisoner's Dilemma. Low B. This persona is pretty much just useful for harassers, like Forward. Seeing the hunter's aura can be always helpful when trying to Ballon rescue. Especially, because this persona allows surprise Ballon rescues, but besides that I wouldn't recommend using it. Horsefly Effect. High A. While its effect depends a lot on which level it is, I do think it can help you save time and avoid a hit sometimes. It would be probably S tier, if there weren't that 15 meters condition in order to activate it, but it does have a noticeable impact. Exit Path. S for sure. Same thing with Borrowed Time, no explanation needed. Great power. Trash, D. For a good kite you don't aim for pallet stuns, you pre-drop pallets to gain distance to the hunter, and that's how you win the match. Pallet stuns are always double-edged swords. Either you get hit, or actually manage the stun. But come on, it's no longer Season 1, hunters know what they are doing. If the hitbox of the pallet isn't broken again, they will just get the hit on you most of the times anyways. You can use it for forward, or cowboy, but even if you use it on them, it's never guaranteed that you get chased, or even get a pallet stun. Will to survive. C tier. It's used to be good back in the old days, but after time passed, NetEase started adding at certain locations more chairs, and that indirectly nerfed this persona as well. So nowadays even with this persona, hunters will still get you to the chair. This persona is not really strong alone, but if paired with some harassers in the team, this could become a deadly combo. But since I rate this for solo players, this persona does not a lot without fitting teammates.
No! She can't do that to me!
Knee-jerk reflex. S tier. There is not much to say about this persona. The meta is all about keeping distance to the hunter, and this persona is exactly doing that. It's really useful on characters like Explorer, who cannot create distance by their own like Patient can. It can also be used outside of Chase, making it a very versatile persona for almost every scenario. Brewing Effect. High B tier persona. This is basically just Survivor Instinct, but just better. The persona itself is completely useless in early game and activates only around late mid-game. In order to activate it you are not allowed to decode, but outside of going for the rescue, survivors will never leave a cipher for no reason. This might be useful in a last cipher scenario where the cipher is getting camped by the hunter. But even in those scenarios it's better to decode a different cipher. Muscle memory. High A tier. Normally this persona would be pretty useless, but since they got rid of the silence fast vault, I do think you can get a lot of value out of it. It does have a short cooldown but still, the fact that you can vault faster than usual is just amazing. With this persona you first of all waste less time on vaulting, and you can also decrease the chance of getting terror shocks or hits. Drawbridge Effect. Same tier like before. When playing alone this persona really comes in hand. It reveals the auras of nearby survivors. While it seems not much, it can give you a lot of informations, like if someone is working on a cipher, where the teammate is getting chased at, and so on. This is a pretty good information persona, especially on harassers like Forward.
Oh! Das gefällt mir aber gut.
It can pretty much be used in every scenario. Cold. It's shit, D tier. This just activates if the hunter is looking at the survivor's back. I mean it would be alright if the persona would reveal right away the aura of the hunter, but it doesn't. The hunter also needs to be 32 meters away from you, making it a lot worse. Just don't use it. Savior Complex. C tier. This works the same as Companion Effect, just that the rescuer gets the speed boost instead. Honestly I do not get it why a rescuer would need a speed boost, outside of body blocking. Injured survivors normally don't go rescuing, and even if healthy survivors would go, they do not always body block, just if it's really necessary. Sneak. High B tier. I personally think this persona is underrated. While it's true seeing survivors nowadays is easy as fuck, but this persona still allows to do some sneaky speed rescues in some cases. The effect is pretty good, but the lack of range makes it a little weaker, as well as you cannot always get close to the chair without being seen. So B is its place. Mech Elite. New persona, D. Bigger skill checks? Ahaha, funny joke. Get out of my sight. Herd mentality. A. Similar like Sneak, but this time with a movement speed buff instead. I do think this persona can change a lot out of the outcome of a rescue. Running faster is already a huge pro factor, and trying to juke the hunter at hitting the chair, while rescuing, makes it a really good persona. This speed boost can allow you many jukes if skilled, and really end up in a clean rescue. Shelter. High D. Believe me, healing a survivor after rescue is like never possible, making its whole existing point unnecessary. You can use it on Doctor, but even then it's still bad, and gets you like never use out of it. Doctor. D. Only useful on Doctor. Tide Turner. High S tier. This is one or even the strongest persona in the game. This can literally change any game to at least a tie or even a win. Imagine all 4 players carry it, and all are able to use it. You get a total of 83 seconds for decoding, and that's one complete cipher. If you multiple that by 3 survivors, then you can get a total of 3 ciphers done. This persona almost always guarantees a tie for the survivor team, if they play coordinated with no big mistakes, of course. But since this persona avoids the problem with getting instantly downed again after getting rescued, makes this persona absurdly strong. This persona should be a must-use for every character besides decoders. Except you are overall not good at kiting, then go for other kite personas. So it looks like we've come to an end. Here is the full list again. Thank you for watching, see you next time.